Hello, this is Dora Tarver from e-projectmanagers.com, and I'm here today with Ted Daniels, president of Daniels Design and Remodeling. And today we're going to walk through how to visually track in-house labor with outsourced labor in Microsoft Project. What we have here is a project schedule, and I'm going to build an example for you to see right now what you need to do in order to be able to graphically track your labor. So in your project schedule, if you have your tasks, let me just enter a few test tasks here. In project, you can always select a task and then drag the cell down, to copy it. There we go. And for resources, I'm just going to make up some names here. Bill, Sally, Jane, and Bob. And I'll use the same names here again. Okay, so I have a few resources, and now my challenge is to be able to, some of these resources are in-house employees and some are outsourced labor, and I want to be able to graphically see who is which from the Gantt chart. And if we go to the resource view, let me just scroll over there one second. The resource sheet view. You'll see that there's a column called group. And what we're going to do is we're going to make Bill and Jane consultants. And Sally and Bob are full-time employees, so we'll just call them EMP for employee. And then going back to the Gantt chart, the next step will be to create a computed column for identifying which resource belongs to which category. And how you do that is you would insert a flag column. And I'm going to call this, actually I'm just going to leave the title default, which will just say flag 1, because we're going to hide this a little bit later. And in the flag column, we're going to add a formula by selecting the column and right-clicking, going to Customize Fields, and we're going to select the Formula button. And here we're going to insert a function, a general function, using the if expression. And the first part of the if expression, we're going to check the resource group value. And to do that, we go to the field, because basically we have access to all of the fields or all of the attributes in Microsoft Project to create a formula against any of them. And the resource group happens to be under text. Here it is, resource group. And we're checking to see if the resource group equals consultant. Okay. And if it does, then this flag field will show the value of yes. And if they aren't a consultant, then the flag will say no. So consultant is yes, and employee is no. Click on OK. This is a standard message that Microsoft Project shows when you're creating a new formula. And then just click on OK. So now this formula exists. And you see how it automatically changed some of these to say yes. So Bill and Jane are consultants, and that's why it says yes. If you wanted to experiment with this, you could change Bill's name to Sally. And Sally is not a consultant, so that changed to no. Once you put a formula in your flag column, you'll notice that you can no longer edit the flag. Before we put the formula in, you could have come in here and selected yes or no manually from the front end. But now that we have the formula in here, the only way this value will change is if the resource is either a consultant or employee, which is following the formula that we assign to this column. Does that make sense for you, Ted, so far?
It does. It's fantastic.
Okay, perfect. All right, so now the next step is to adjust the Gantt chart. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move some of these dates around a little bit just to give us something different to look at. And actually, let me just put some predecessors in here. Just to make it look a little different. All right, now in the Gantt chart view, if you right-click on the background and select from the pop-up menu Bar Styles, then in this dialog box, you'll see by default the different types of objects that you'll see on your Gantt chart. You'll see tasks, you'll see a progress bar, milestone, summary, etc. Notice though that there's empty space, which means that you can actually edit and create your own fields in the Gantt chart. So for our sake, I'm going to call this task employee. I'm going to say EMP. And at the very bottom, actually I'm going to do it right here. I'm going to insert a row right next to it. I'm going to say task consultant. And for the appearance, I want that to be a different color. I'm just going to choose fuchsia for now. And the pattern, I want it to be a bar. And the shape, this shape is fine. I don't need to change that. So we'll leave that as it is. And I want this to appear when the flag 1 field is yes. So when the flag 1 field is yes, we'll see this value. Okay. And then click on OK. And now you can see that all of the consultants are magenta and the employees are blue. Again, if you wanted to play with this and change it so that if their roles change or tasks change, you can see that by editing this directly, you can change the value.
And also, it sounds like these rules will hold true if you want to add a whole new name, John, and just decide whether John is now a consultant or an employee. All the rules will apply. Is that correct?
That's correct. What we would do is we'd go into the resource view, and when we add John, you can make John an employee or consultant. And do you have a preference for John, employee or consultant?
Let's make him a consultant.
Okay, there we go. So John now has been added as a consultant. And what we can do is, let's say, assign John. And since he's a consultant, it will turn magenta. So we can add more tasks. Actually, let me just drag it down. And we can select resources. And it'll automatically recalculate things for us since the formula is built in. One thing you'll want to do after this is hide the flag column by selecting it and then right-clicking and selecting hide column. You no longer need to show that flag field since we're not actually using it. And then you can work with your schedule as you would normally going forward. Another detail actually that I'd like to point out is when you print your project schedule, if you go into print preview, you'll see that the legend shows the different type of Gantt objects that we're showing. You see task employee and task consultant, and we control how those are named, as you saw before. If you want to not display the Gantt chart view, then in your page setup on the legend tab, you can select none. And then when you go into print preview, you'll see no legend at the bottom of your screen. So let's see, I think that's pretty much it. Are there any other questions relating to how to set up the graphic column view, Ted?
No, Dora, I have to tell you, it is fantastic. That's exactly what I was looking to accomplish. It's perfect. It's amazing. Well done.
Okay, excellent. Now, part two actually is for those who maybe don't rely on their Gantt chart view as heavily. If you are a person that manages from the tasks area of your schedule, you can also insert a column and display a graphic variable. So if you right click on a column and select insert, and in this case we're going to insert a text column, and I'm going to call this column labor, and I'm going to put a formula in this column by right clicking and selecting custom fields, and the formula will be similar to what we did before. We go to function, select general, select the if expression, and we're going to change the expression to look at the value in the resource group. So if the resource group equals consultant, then in this case I'm going to say the number 1, if not the number 0. And what we'll do is we're going to put a graphic indicator in here. So if it's 1, if they're a consultant, oops, wait, hold on. If the value is 1, if they're a consultant, then it'll be magenta. And if the value equals 0, then they're a full-time employee, and I'm just going to select blue. Now, of course, in Microsoft Project, there are a lot of different images here, a lot of different images that you can select. Unfortunately, we can't edit these images. We have what comes with Microsoft Project, but there's quite a few for you to select. And just click on OK, and then click on OK again, and you'll see a graphic indicator in each row that identifies which employee is working on that task, if it's a full-time employee or a consultant. And again, we can always change names. As we change a name, you'll see it automatically changes the color as well. And of course, we can also add some more tasks and assign a person to it, and that will affect the color as well. So are there any questions in reference to adding the column, Ted?
It's as I'm trying to do it, you just hit insert column, and
Yes, yes.
the field. I think I'll have to rewatch the video. It was as I'm trying to replicate it here. I'm not seeing the same things you saw.
Well, did you select insert column, and then you selected? I used a text field in this case. I selected text 1.
So how'd you find that?
Oh,
Underneath it. Is that right?
yeah. In the drop down, I just hit the letter T, and it automatically scrolled down to the T section. When you insert a column, if you hit the letter T, it'll go to the first T's, and then you can scroll down and select text 1, or in this case I'm going to select text 2 because we already selected text 1, and give it a label in the title column, in the title field.
Got it.
And then from
Oh, that worked just perfect.
okay, and then from there you would select the column again, and then select Customize Fields, and then you would add the formula.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you very much. Excellent work, and I'm thrilled. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ted, for your time and participation. And if anyone else has any questions relating to the topic of today, feel free to contact me, Dora Tarver, at e-projectmanagers.com. Have an excellent day.